the pleasure to wear two hats today, one of a speaker and one of a moderator, turning this more into somewhat of a fireside chat, which is probably the best way to do this. I'm joined on stage by Lisa and Abhishek, so why don't we start this off by a quick introduction. What we're going to talk about today is how do we ensure that the UAE is at the forefront of adoption? What is it that we can do as companies, as people, as thought leaders? And what is it that could be interesting to the crowd to participate in? Lisa, maybe a quick introduction from yourself.
Sure. Hello, everyone. I'm Lisa Loud, and I'm the founder and CEO of a DeFi tools company called FLUIDEFI. I've been in crypto for the past 5 years and seen the ups and downs and ups and downs and ups and downs, mostly in the trading space, so it's been an exciting time. My background is with fintech, PayPal, and Apple.
Also, you have the coolest name in the room, Lisa Loud. That's just, you know. Abhishek, over to you.
Hi. Good morning, all. So, if I talk about me, I come across with around 18 years experience, been into blockchain space from last 5 years, majorly into HR, talent acquisition, talent attraction, talent management, branding, those kind of things. So my company, Recruin, is basically focusing on blockchain, Web3, and metaverse ecosystem, providing and connecting people to the ecosystem. So that's about us.
That's lovely, absolutely perfect. From my end, my name is Saqr Ereiqat from Crypto Oasis. As Crypto Oasis, we work with great companies like TDFi, Cypher Capital, and others to develop this ecosystem, to develop the UAE as one of the top destinations globally for the cryptocurrency and blockchain industry. Now, I'm joined by two experts that represent different areas of this business. Abhishek actually helps companies to grow talent, to find the right talent. Lisa provides the right solutions. Both of them are here in the UAE. Lisa, have you shifted yet here to the UAE? Is that on the horizon for you?
We are actually a Canadian company, and we've been seriously considering moving to the UAE, mostly because of the recent developments, the changes in law that are being proposed that really will make a difference to welcome cryptocurrency companies to this area. As you know, North America is a little unfriendly. Canada and the US are a bit difficult to run a crypto company, and we're very enticed by this idea of coming here and being able to operate openly and freely and do everything that we possibly can to move the industry forward.
With an international point of view like yours, why would you choose the UAE in comparison to, let's say, other hubs like Hong Kong or Singapore or Miami?
Well, I'll tell you, the crypto community moves around, and at the moment, we are moving into Dubai, we're moving into Miami. I don't see any other real big crypto hubs that are happening right now, and the fact that the UAE is creating these laws just makes Dubai so much more interesting than any other jurisdiction in the entire world. Miami's great for meeting a lot of people, but you can't really run crypto in the US, so Dubai is it.
Well, yeah, the SEC still needs to land on where they'll come out and all of this, and I'm very excited because I'm actually of the point of view that regulatory frameworks, regulatory structures are required for wide-scale adoption. So I'm hopeful to see what the US is going to do with it, but I'm glad that we have talent like yourself considering here in the UAE. Abhishek, you help companies actually find this talent and deploy this talent. Tell me about a trend that you have been seeing. Has there been a trend towards the UAE, or are we just imagining this?
No. So if you look at, as a Dubai, as UAE, is evolving in blockchain ecosystem a lot. So if you go by a few of the government strategies like Dubai blockchain strategies, Emirates blockchain strategies, so they want to reduce their cost, what they basically do on papers and all, up to 50%. Okay, and because of the evolving technology, because of the evolving ecosystem, a lot of the companies want to set up their shops here in Dubai, because it's becoming a new cosmopolitan for the world. because of this new cosmopolitan, there'll be increasing talent demand for the companies, and people coming from different geographies want to set up the things here, want to come and work over here in Dubai. So if you look at the overall diversification of the people in Dubai is coming very fast. And if you look at from the economy point of view, after pandemic, few countries who have grown, that's one of the, Dubai or UAE is one of the region who have grown a lot. So that's the thing. And from the talent point of view, if I see, we have also set up our operations here in UAE as a mainland company. So we can come across with most of the people who will be coming from the global or different ecosystem and working here. So that's the thing. That's how that the overall ecosystem become an ease here in Dubai for the business, for the talent, and for the other crypto-related things.
And now with the developments that we have seen, if they were geopolitical, if they were socio-economical, right? Do you find that there was one factor in the past 2 years, let's say 3 years, that made you look at Dubai more than anywhere else, Lisa?
Well, all of my friends kept saying they were coming to Dubai, so that caught my attention. And I would say that also the fact that there are very strong support systems here. There's incubators here that are very, very supportive of startups. We just heard from Gaurav, and what he's doing is really amazing for startups, people like us who really are looking for that infrastructure and that place to grow and flourish. I think having that infrastructure, having this conference, you guys have conferences every week, it looks like to me. Yeah. So there's just a lot of, there's people here, there's infrastructure, there's regulatory support. All of these come together to make it impossible to ignore.
So Lisa, you're a company from Canada, right? When did the UAE really appear on that map? Do you remember? Was it 2 years ago, 3 years ago? Was it earlier?
It was during the pandemic. It was at the beginning of the pandemic. I started to hear about it.
Right. And this is also what we've seen at the time. During the pandemic, Dubai took a very strict stance. I'm not sure. In the audience, how many people were in Dubai during the pandemic? All right, okay. That's the minority. All right, okay. Let me tell you a little bit about what this pandemic felt like to us here. At the very early beginning, everything locked up extremely, right? We were sat at home. It was Ramadan 2020, so it must have been maybe March, April, somewhere along those lines, right? Everything locked up. While other places in the world were still debating if there should be a lockdown or there shouldn't be, we were put on house arrest. Right, and pretty much with a day's notice. And at the time, that was called the National Sterilization Campaign, right? So it wasn't a lockdown as much as, hey guys, give us a chance to actually clean up this place and make sure we address the areas where there is a lot of outbreak, right? 3 months later, everything was slowly but surely lifted. Only a couple of months later, we were able then, after being very strict. I couldn't even go to the supermarket without a special approval that I could request from the Dubai police application. I would go, I need a special approval to even go to the supermarket that is a couple of 100 meters away from my house, right? But as a result of that, and as a result of the compliance of the entire UAE population, after 3 months, when things started opening up again, they opened up massively. They opened up and I think it was, and help me out here, Gaurav. I think it was GITEX was in October, right? GITEX in October of the year of the pandemic was one of the most visited GITEXs ever in the history of GITEX, right? And that's a statement. And I'm really happy to hear you reiterate that, because to us it appeared as if the government was doing everything right? We adopted an open for business attitude, very strict on the rules and regulations that were being put in place, right? But we are open for business. And what we've seen then is a talent drain from all around the world, from the US, from Europe, from Far East Asia, a talent drain, a brain drain, all into the UAE. And this results in us being here today with what looks to me like 25,000 companies that are active in this space presenting here today. Now, Abhishek, in terms of numbers, can you put a number around the increase of job searches that you've seen here in the UAE?
Yes, if you look at from the government point of view, so they focus on three things, and because of three things, the job creation have taken a pace: industry creation, global leadership, and government efficiency. We have witnessed around close to 6,000 to 7,000 jobs in UAE, which is keep on increasing in last 3 to 4 months, or maybe I can say post-GITEX event. And this is not only limited to all sector, this is basically limited only to blockchain technology. And I'm talking about all the jobs are in a creation within blockchain ecosystem, being into growth, development, marketing, business development, few new roles, project management, those kind of thing. And if I let you know, because of the few advertisement which we have done in past, because we are also coming up with our blockchain-focused job board and talent management system, where we are looking to incubate HR on blockchain, which is maybe one of the few companies or the first 3 companies who will be incubating this. So every day we typically receive 400 to 500 applications who want to come into blockchain jobs.
400 to 500 applications a day, and this is UAE specific.
The people from across countries, but they want to shift their base to UAE. That's the thing.
That is absolutely impressive. Now, Lisa, tell us a little bit about what you do as a company and how this may be relevant to the UAE and help establish the UAE as that global hub.
Absolutely. FLUIDEFI, what we're building is a set of tools that is fully securitized, fully secure with cybersecurity, with pen testing, with ISO 27001 compliance. We're really trying to create those tools for institutions to move capital out of traditional assets into the blockchain space. And right now, what's exciting and where the returns are is in DeFi, in liquidity pools. So that's what we're focused on. We're really trying to move that capital. And as you know, there's a lot of capital here. So it's the perfect marriage of capital available and looking for a place to be, and tools that allow that capital to move into a new asset class with much higher returns from 15% to 2,000%, depending on what your risk tolerance is. So our platform is called FLUIDEFI, and it's really only for institutions right now. So that's why we think it's actually a huge benefit for this area.
I love to hear that. So I'm on the other side of crypto. I joined crypto from the enterprise world. So I actually appreciate and support how important institutional grade products are for the wider adoption. Now, I'm not sure if you can share that just yet, but your strategy for the UAE, right? And again, I don't want you to share anything that you can't share, but I'd love to understand, how do you feel, which are the right institutions for you to partner with? Have you identified one already? Maybe you can give us a sneak peek of one of the partnerships that you feel can establish this entire custody, institutional grade investment products for the UAE.
Yeah, sure. And everything is still very new right now. I'm still finding my way. So I'm here for 10 days and plan to be meeting with a lot of people and understanding the landscape better. We're very interested in working in the ADGM. I got introduced to AIDO, is that right? Yeah. Yeah, so as I say, it's very, very new right now. But we're looking for that place where we can add the most value and partner with the right partners and bring value to this industry.
This is lovely. I'm very happy to hear that. Now, switching gears a little bit, right? If we look at the ecosystem, we believe that an ecosystem consists of 3 elements, right? At Crypto Oasis, we defined these three elements to be capital, right? And we're seeing more capital move into these markets by the day. The other day, and mind you, I'm not in the habit of sitting down with billion-dollar funds, but here I was sitting on one table of two private family offices, right? Who both of them were moving more than $3 billion out of the US into the UAE. That is very significant, right? If these people, imagine this is just one table, two people representing the right family offices. So capital, and we're seeing that capital move over here. Infrastructure, the UAE probably has one of the best infrastructures in the world, both from a digital point of view and a physical point of view. I'm born and raised in Germany, and you know, everyone knows the German Autobahn. Take it from me, the UAE roads are now better than the German Autobahn, right? So, and on the other side, I have this digital infrastructure, data centers, AWS, Microsoft, Oracle, SAP, all of these institutional grade players setting up their data centers, their digital infrastructure over here. Talking about cybersecurity, the UAE is one of the government leaders in cybersecurity all around governments, all around the world, right? So we spoke about capital, we spoke about infrastructure, but probably what is the most unique and most required one is talent. Talent is probably the highest shortage in this market around the world. The future of job reports, if you look at it today, the future of job reports suggests that some of the industries like financial services will have 20% of their workforce displaced if they don't retrain. And that is a huge opportunity, one for the UAE, two for the professionals that are in the UAE, three for us as people in the blockchain space, because if they're retraining, why not retrain them to our space, the blockchain space, the crypto space, the metaverses, the NFTs of the world, right? I'd like to drill down on the talent space. I know, Abhishek, you spend pretty much your entire time, your entire life with talent, with great and smart talent that wants to move here to the UAE. I want you to think inward for a second, and if you could suggest three things that we would need to do, and I say we as the UAE, three things that we would need to do to make this more exciting for talent to arrive here. What do you feel are some of the pain points? Is it visas? Is it bank accounts? Is it, you know, maybe more of a future? Is it better schools? What would be three things that you'd call out as suggestions for the UAE?
Okay, so first thing is talent branding, okay, because...
Say that again, sorry, I didn't understand
It's talent branding.
Talent branding,
Yeah.
okay.
Because it's quite important when you attract somebody to the company, aligning with the vision, because that's very important. So why the person want to work for the company. Okay. Visas, bank accounts, all these things are typically provided by most of the company who want to shift to Dubai. Okay, any candidate who want to shift to Dubai. So these are the things which I feel talent branding, give him a proper workplace culture where he can see his growth, which will be exponential growth in terms of what he'll be going to achieve in coming 1 year, 2 year down the line, because blockchain ecosystem is moving very fast. It's not about the old school companies like JP Morgan Chase or other thing where you need to go up a ladder in 3 to 4 years time. Here you need to give an opportunity to perform, or the guy need to outperform in 6 months or 9 months or a year at a time. So that's the thing, to show him a roadmap, what actually you want. That's the thing.
That's very interesting. Shifting gears to your point of view, Lisa, right? I feel it's the first time you're visiting the UAE, is it? The second time, right? So still with fresh eyes from the international community. If you could go out, and if it's specific for Fluid or if it's specific for the entire ecosystem, what would be recommendations that you would give to the UAE, right? Maybe someone here will watch this, someone will listen to this. What would be 3 recommendations that you give to make this an even more attractive space for talent and companies?
Yeah, so the reason we set up in Canada, besides being Canadian, is that Canada will offer us 75% rebate on our engineering salary, staff salary, which is incredible. But the challenge is that in Canada, it has to be innovation, it has to be R&D, and they're not very open to the idea of financial innovation. So what the UAE could do is to provide, I think you do have similar programs, but if it's more friendly towards financial innovation, I do not understand why financial innovation would not be considered important in the world. How many people in the world are unbanked? 1.7 billion, I heard. 1.2 billion people don't have IDs. So why is it not more important to do financial innovation than tech innovation? I think that any country or any region that can recognize the value of financial innovation and support that with all of its credits and programs will be very attractive to those of us who are really working to move the industry forward.
I love hearing that because I've been in the UAE now on and off for 12 years, right? And I've seen this landscape shift entirely. 3 years ago, 2 years ago, the visa regulations were changed in its entirety. And this was pre-COVID, by the way, right? Before, to be in the UAE, to work in the UAE, you would have to be registered with a company, work with a company, be approved by a company, and they would issue your working visa and your work permit. Today, and financial innovation is actually one of them, today you can go and apply as someone that is a professional in this space, as a freelancer or an expert, and be eligible for an even 10-year visa, which was unheard of today, just 4 years ago, right? It was unheard of that you would have a visa that's longer than 5 years at the time, right? So slowly but surely, the UAE is now changing the labor laws, changing the residency laws, changing the way they interact with the wider community for us to slowly but surely become that global hub that we believe we already are, right? We've been working on this vision since 2015 onwards, and it's absolutely rewarding to actually see all of you guys, and maybe just 2 hands go up when I asked about who is here from the UAE. To know that all of this international talent is moving here is absolutely impressive. I want to make sure that I open this up for questions for maybe another 2 to 3 minutes. Do we have any questions on what we believe the UAE should do to become a hub, why we think the UAE is a hub? Any questions from the audience? Okay. Do we have a moving mic? No? All right.
Hello. What is the impact and value and risk of giving licenses to unregulated exchanges like FTX and Binance, which I know as a customer of at least one of those, never did any KYC. So they have millions of customers, never any KYC, and now you've given them licenses. What's the advantage and disadvantage of that?
Would you like to take that? If not.
So your question is, what's the advantage of having KYC or just giving licenses?
My question is the exact opposite of that. There's a reason for KYC and AML. It makes you part of the system of nations, and it means that you're not money laundering, doing terrorists. And so when you take exchanges that never did any KYC in the beginning, they're unregulated exchanges everywhere, and then the UAE and Dubai say, oh, they're regulated exchanges, and put the government behind them, even though they have millions of people who never had KYC, that's a bold move. I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm not saying it's right. I'm asking you as panelists what the advantages of that.
The advantage of that is there are many people, like I just said, in the world who do not have an ID, who cannot do KYC. It's not possible for them. So if you have an exchange that is is regulated but does not have any KYC requirements, you open it up to a much larger group of people who otherwise would really lack the means to trade anything. That's one advantage. The other advantage is that there's a huge, the ethos of crypto is anonymous, or at least pseudonymous. So I worked at Shapeshift, we implemented KYC, and as soon as we did that, we had a drop. 90%, 95% of our users went away, because that ethos is you don't have to be known, you don't have to be tracked. I understand the other side of the perspective, which is regulation prevents money laundering. However, it's a double-edged sword. As soon as you have KYC, you're excluding people, and you're also going against this idea of crypto as something that exists outside of the government control.
All right. If anyone has a burning question after this, the panelists will be around here where our time is up. Thank you for being an attentive audience. Thank you to the panelists for joining me here today. I learned a lot, and I'm glad I hope the audience did as well. A big round of applause. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.